Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to our Monday Conscious Conversation. If you don't know who we are, I am Kirsten. This is Tristan, and we are Haseya. We are so excited to have you here as we dive into a very, very special series on a three-part call covering relationships and intimacy.
Thank you for being here. Happy Monday. Thank you for the interaction and questions and anything that's on your mind to help us move through this conversation and welcoming all of it. Just keep the comments coming, keep the questions coming, get in on the survey, help us mold this conversation to further support you because that's what this is about.
Wait, these are for a purpose? They're not just for fun?
Yeah, all of it. All of it. And they're very fun.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. If you've been here for a while, you kind of know the name of the game. We break down our coaching semesters into three segments. Right now, we are in semester two, and it is all about relationships, recognizing how all of life is a relationship, really. And we have certain books and universal laws and practices that we hone in on with our clients and our community for these 4 months to help support the transformation in that area of our life. So while it transcends wherever you're at in your experience, we do have specific focuses. And so that is what these chats are about. And if you haven't caught the first and second one, we invite you to, because today we're going to go even deeper.
Yes, we're going to go even deeper. And these conversations, it's just a topic. And really, we just allow whatever to come through, explore what we know from the truth standpoint of psychology and philosophy and religion. And we talk about it in as specific as we can get, but we can't specifically tell you answers and advice for your situation. What we're doing is we're going to cover some of the things that, come up or cause or, and the rest is like that really individual experience, like our coaching clients get that, they're finding these answers for themselves within processing, within trauma work, within the subconscious reprogramming and the illumination deep in that prayer and these processes that allow them to come to that very deep answer that's really unique for themselves. So we don't have the advice for you that you may think you came here for. No, but this is a beautiful conversation and it's so enlightening. So there's going to be so much that gets unlocked in this conversation. So many ahas, or it may feel confronting too. Like, oh no, it's not me. Um, it probably is. It's probably all of us, and not just one-sided. I mean that it's us because we have to start here or we're not getting anything accomplished. We have to start here or we're not healing to stop those cycles and keep moving forward. We can't ever get anywhere if it's never us and we never have anything to deal with and it's always the other person. That's just the recipe for the relationships not working out and the continual cycles of the same damn thing that we get sick of.
Do we?
Ah,
Oh, we talk about a lot of confronting things, but I think that that's probably one of the biggest pills to swallow is that we don't get sick of our shit. We're really, really good at painting the picture and the story and the dynamic of what relationships are. If you're really honest with yourself, you're able to take a snapshot and see basically the same thread within every experience. The partner's different, the situation is changed, but it's the same body, same pain body that's going on down underneath there. And so we continually find ourselves in that same season, that same experience over and over and over again. And if you're sitting here and you're like, well, I've been married for 15 years, but yet I'm still not fulfilled in my relationships, that doesn't resonate. You do it within your relationship. It doesn't matter the longevity or the amount of partners that you've had or you haven't had. It's continual and it's seasonal as we move through things psychologically, energetically.
oh, the masterclass of relationships, whether it's a new relationship, somewhere in the middle, or a long-term relationship, the old things still come up. And while it's not the same person, like Kirsten said, it's not maybe the same situation, you're still having the experience, the worries, the actions out of us in response to old experiences is still existing, and it's still holding us in this space to where we cannot thrive and have that relationship that we really do desire. We just keep getting the relationship that we expect.
Yeah. Which is really what we want to talk to you guys about today, what we call the breaking point, if you will, or your turning point, where you get to this point where you can say, okay, I hear you. I'm open. I'm tired of my shit. I'm ready for something different. Or it doesn't also have to be passive and the way that we're delivering it with this humor. We're being very light-hearted with these conversations because we know we know the heaviness in which they can be in our lives. And when we have that deep, enriching desire to just be loved and to connect with somebody and it's not happening, how devastating that can be sometimes. So we're at this point turning. I want to get over the hump. I'm tired of experiencing what we were just talking about over and over again. I want to have this deep level of intimacy. I want, to be seen by my partner. I want to have this safety within my relationship. And we're going to talk about some of the stories and things that come up and the psychology behind the perpetuation of why we don't ever get beyond the hump, and then the implementation of what we can do here forth to help us navigate our relationships moving forward.
Yes. And can we just bring it to that breaking point again? And like I can say for me, it was that I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Mhm.
And I had an opportunity, a turning point to where I had to wrestle with the fact of, being okay with worst case scenario, best case scenario, um, the possibilities were here, what the possibilities were here. And what I chose was I'm going to start with me. And that changed everything. That I'm going to start with me because I don't know what else to do. And then, brings you to a place if you're guided, if you're guided correctly, guys, there's a lot of talk therapy, there's a lot of therapies and stuff, and they haven't necessarily done their work either. And so they're kind of leading with this hurt space too. And so just really, 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 really pay attention to what kind of space you allow this vulnerability to be placed in. Because a lot of times, you go to the talk therapy because really what you're wanting is the validation to leave. What you're wanting is the validation to stay so that you're making the right choice. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. Um, but just that pain point there of like, I don't know what it is, but I can't do this anymore. And just also the fact that the experience that we're wanting to have and the experience we're having, I will say that just because it's been the same thing over and over again does not mean that there's not the opportunity to experience all those desires where you're at. Once we move through these commands and these traumas and these layers and layers and layers and layers from the way we've seen relationships work from a child and over again and on TV and in their music and all these programmings. Um, Once we move through these crazy amounts of layers, which I know that sounds big and it's a big decision, but it really is a beautiful journey. To be able to have the opportunity to have what we desire right where we're at. And also it may not, that partner may not be interested at that point to move forward with a different that different experience. And there's also the conversation about codependency, as if it's a dangerous situation emotionally and things like this to where we cannot even make it without the big tear downs and the big commotions that, seek go to coda.org or coda.com. I think it's coda.org. And it's a 12-step program for codependency, because it's just as intense and just life-threatening as an addiction. But that helps, start breaking the tethers of the codependency and having a little extra help. But also, this work will help with the less severe cases of the codependency, because what we're doing is we're breaking those contracts, we're breaking those attachments to the way relationships are and have been, and expecting, demanding, and opening up to a new experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Tristan says that we don't give advice, who are we to know, what's best for you and the direction of your life? Like,
Mhm.
you are your sovereign light. You are your North Star. And also, we are blinded by the dynamics that are going on within our relationships. That's why we have community. That's why we have practitioners. That's why we hold ourselves and keeping ourselves accountable to recognize something that is healthy or an unhealthy dynamic. So taking these words in this conversation today with a grain of salt and never using it as a support or a justification for you to stay in an unsafe environment, but to help you navigate in a relationship in which you are safe and you can explore these kind of psychological dysfunctions or emotional and trauma bondages that are keeping you from experiencing what you're desiring. And so some of the ways in which that we do that, if you haven't done any work yet and you have been in a relationship and hey, something's not right, I know I need to look at myself, great. If you've done some work and you've been in a relationship and now you're at that breaking point, we have all these stories to tell us why this work won't work for me. We've been together for 15 years, or we've only been together 5 and now I've completely changed. Like, how is this going to work? They're not the same, I'm not the same, et cetera, et cetera. We also touched on the psychology behind how we block ourselves and we keep ourselves from moving forward. We're continuously building that confirmation bias. So we talked in some of the previous calls about subconscious reprogramming and how we're operating when we show up in relationships. We need the justification to say, I can leave, from like a base level as like a human being. We don't need it. I'm air quoting over here. But unconsciously, we're operating from a space of, well, I can't do that. That's too scary. I can't be alone. Whatever it is for you. And we're waiting for these things to stack up to finally get us to this point, right?
Yeah, when we're something that's come out with clients before, that was kind of that like blind spot, is having one foot in and one foot out. We don't know we're doing that. And we may not even know this next level of, well, we're protecting ourselves from getting hurt because of the past. But when we have one foot out and one foot in, we're here and we're in when things are good. But the second something is just like inconvenient, or have an argument, and these conversations stuff need to happen, but they're uncomfortable. So now I'm going to lean more on this foot, and I'm going to let it tell all my story. I'm going to let it prove all my stories. I'm going to let it give me all the reasons why I don't like this relationship and this is not going to work, and why I'm always mistreated, and why these are old stories, you guys, that you may not even know exist, but that what they are is, if you can take the pause, if you can self-reflect just a little bit, what you're going to recognize is that their old feelings are not new. Okay. So when we have this weight on this outside too, like, we're not staying in it to work on anything. We're not staying in it to, help the situation. Man, we've put our weight out here, and it's just like, well, now I've got my foot out because I'm protected. So I'm just going to like light the fire. I'm just going to, oh yeah, like keep lighting that fire, because I need the proof that I need to go ahead and take this foot and walk out this way. And so we're looking for that when things aren't good. we're working for, we're looking and working for that proof of the stories and the reason why we want to leave. Now, when we pull both feet in, first of all, wholly vulnerable, right? Um, but when we have both feet in, and there's no foot out, there's no finger out, it's just like, I'm here now. I am committed to this relationship. I am committed to myself, but I have both feet here, whether it's a pleasant experience, or maybe we're disagreeing about something and having a hard moment, or maybe we're really having like a really hard season. But I'm here. And when we do this, we really set ourselves up for that vulnerability of what it feels like is we're setting ourselves up to get hurt. Right? It's like, oh, this is going to hurt a lot worse because I'm not one foot out. Like, I'm the bigger person that can go faster and not get hurt. But we'll never know what this relationship could be and what love could be here if we don't allow ourselves the full vulnerability of having both feet in. We will never find that peak intimacy, that peak relationship possibility if we don't have both feet in. And then when we're here, what we with that observation is we we don't want to be here because we don't really want to take responsibility for how we may be creating in this also, right? That's why the foot's out, because then we could just point at them and it's their fault. But here what we need to do is also be reflective and be committed to our work of where we need to work on things, release some old things so that those old triggers aren't there. Those old, yep, I knew it. You always do, like, this is how it always is. Those old triggers, those old things can get taken care of so that we can create. We can only create with our both feet where we're at. That's the only way. And that's a huge breakthrough for a lot of people, but that's a huge commitment. But what did we commit to? Like, did we, when we commit to a marriage and we commit to a relationship and we start like this, all right, like, like we're leaving so much on the table. We're leaving so much on the table and not ever experiencing the absolute max that could be experienced here. We're creating that torture that we talk about in so many different ways of being pulled in all the directions and being in that hell space.
I have such a visceral reaction in my body when you're going over some of those commands, like, oh, you always do this. Like, here we are again. And I know, like, you listeners are having your own experience, and it's very real. And that's why we talk about the trauma work being so important, not because it's what we do for a living, but because it is what changed our freaking lives. The ability to say, I've got both of my feet in. And in order for you to experience the depths of love, okay, we're going to have that polarity of feeling the lack of love when we're in that space. We don't stay there, but we get this opportunity of, what is it that I'm committed to? Am I committed to this story of suffering and that I'm not enough and I'm never going to have this relationship that I want? Or am I going to remake this commitment to myself that I am worthy of experiencing love, like without bounds, beyond measure? I'm worthy of seeing myself within my divinity and my perfection as I am my partner. And the work allows you to be in that space that when your partner does something that hurts you, when your partner, says something or brings up something from the past, and all of a sudden it's 8 years ago, and you're in that concert and he's, screaming at you, or, you find out she's been texting another dude, whatever it is, okay, to sit there and take a deep breath and recognize, I'm here and I'm right now. While this experience is very real, what am I making this mean? What am I making this mean about my partner, about myself, about our relationship, about our life, about our family? And in that silence, what gets spoken there and what you hear and what you witness is chilling sometimes. Sometimes it's really icky. And then we get to say, I don't want that. I'm not here for that. Oh my God, every day I'm waiting for them to do something that confirms that. That sucks. I'm something else, something else. And that's where we get to start doing our integration and our embodiment. So when we're talking about the turning point, getting over the hump, releasing the old crap of what we've been doing in the past, to ourselves, to our partners, in our relationship dynamics, and then saying, what is it though that I really want to commit to in that space? And that's how we get to move through that journey together when we do experience the depths and the throes of emotion of knowing who we are and who we are in relationship.
Oh, I mean, 100%. And it still blows my mind to think about this. Still, like the years that we've been doing this work and coaching and all of this, it's still just, it's like, God, I want to stand on top of a mountain and scream these things to people because they just don't understand that it could be so much better. When you're having a situation, I'm talking the dishes or big or small, it doesn't matter. Because when we're having a situation, we're like getting really upset. We are getting really upset. We're spiraling. We're losing control. Now we're like all blacked out and we're back. And like you said, our body remembers, our subconscious mind's like, oh, I know how this goes. And all of a sudden we're like zoom back in time and we're having this experience that is so old and has so many layers on it that it makes something right now that isn't actually that so much bigger and so much worse. And then we go through the whole, it takes forever to get over it and it just keeps getting worse because then we're like punishing each other. When we can do that work, when we can do that work now, it doesn't mean that like some of that old stuff won't come in and you're like, whoa, what was that? But you're like, whoa, what was that? Because that doesn't make sense for now. This is not what's happening right now. So if you can have some more awareness and you can stay conscious and stay present instead of like, zoop, gone, let the subconscious mind take over. That's the worst thing we can do. I'm staying present. I'm recognizing these feelings don't match what's going on here. What's going on? What am I making this mean? Where did that come from? You're having some quicker recognition. There's quicker recovery. There's quicker coming together. There is like this, whoa, I did overreact. I know that's not what's happening here. And I just want you to know I'm present enough to tell you that like that's not what I'm doing. Okay. Like I'm sorry. I had a moment like that I got frustrated. It's simply that it's not about you or this. You can have these conversations and you're learning each time. You're healing each time. And it's getting easier each time, but it does take time because those old pathways, those old ruts, they're still gonna be there. They're still going to kind of come across, but we have more choice now. When we do the trauma work and we take that emotional charge off that engram on the DNA that just says, this means this, we have no control because we still have all that emotion from generations, not only generational epigenetics speaking, but like in this lifetime, all of that's compartmentalized, just waiting like a ticking time bomb for the smallest thing. And then it feels so big when it's not, but we can take that stuff off. We can move through that. Guess what? We have choice now. And when we have choice and we have 2 feet in the same place and we're committed for real and vulnerable, we can create something that is just so much different. We can create that thing that we're actually desiring, but we can't create what we're desiring if we're just so committed to the old.
Absolutely. This series has been titled Relationships and Intimacy. And
Mhm.
intimacy can mean a lot of things for different people. Like we've talked a lot about emotional intimacy, right? And spiritual intimacy. And we haven't really touched base on the physical intimacy aspects. And we're always, really vulnerable on here. We talk about, our lives and our experiences in an ethical way. And embarking on my own journey within this work and uncovering some of the sexual trauma and stuff that I had experienced, intimacy changed drastically for me when I started to become more aware. The way that I would connect with my partner, physically was different. I was no longer this version of myself that I had thought that I was, or that I thought I enjoyed. Interactions in a certain way, because I've been primed that way, right? We all watch social medias and movies and all the things, and how women, are all of it. And when you start to get really real with yourself and take a snapshot and ask these questions like who you are, everything begins to change. And then there's this dance that happens with your partner, because it's not just how you're showing up and how you're communicating and how you're showing up in your dynamics and with your emotional trust, but it's also in the bedroom. And so that's a huge conversation that we are diving into in our community, outside of this conversation, if you guys want to hear more about that. But if you are in that kind of an experience, my recommendation to you is to dive into the book Come As You Are and start learning a little bit more about yourself from a woman's perspective within femininity, and those types of ways in which sometimes how the brain fires and stuff. And then also, if you're a man and you're just curious to understand that perspective from a woman and kind of what's going on within her too, within connection, it can be a really empowering book as well.
Absolutely. And these are experiences that Kirsten and I share, as far as this journey that kind of mirrors each other a bit, and experiences there and then experiences within our relationship and everything. And so it really is a it's like it's just it's a spot on our heart, to help with this. And that's one of the things, like, we opened that up for there to be questions about that, because those are beautiful conversations, and the questions, either out of like shyness or whatever, weren't asked in that department. So we're at right now, we're just talking about the things that were asked to be talked about. And I know that we'll get into the intimacy stuff, because there's so much there. There's so much programming, there's so much misconception, and there's so many layers that we have to uncover to be able to have, that relationship aspect that is fully our desires, and actually may be a more natural and comfortable and I guess aligned of what we haven't maybe found yet, or even thought is possible yet. So there's so much there that I'm excited to have that conversation and answer those questions. So send them in to us. If you don't want your name, the survey, your name doesn't have to come up. We don't have to know your name, because this is a whole other series just about that. There's so much conversation. And if you guys keep having things come up, we will keep recording, and we will keep addressing, and we will keep talking about it, because that's how we all grow. It's how we all learn and expand, and we're in this together. That's our whole thing here at Haseya Inc. is like, we're in this together. We're doing this as a community, as a sisterhood, as a family, because we need each other. Really, we need that tribe to be able to have the support and have the push and have that soft place to land, and the biggest cheerleaders when maybe we're not able to be our cheerleaders. That's what we are. That's where our heart is. So always bring just we want to hear it. We want to hear it. What are you going through?
Always, always. We love you so much. Thank you for being here and for your light, your individualism. Until next time.
Love you. Thank you.